Chapter 12, Strawberry's Adventure. Diggory kept his mouth very tight. He had been growing more and more uncomfortable. He hoped that, whatever happened, he wouldn't blub or do anything ridiculous. "Son of Adam," said Aslan, "are you ready to undo the wrong that you've done to my sweet country of Narnia on this very day of its birth?" "Well, I don't see what I can do," said Diggory. "You see, the queen ran away and—" "I asked, are you ready?" said the lion. "Yes," said Diggory. He had for a second some wild idea of saying, "I'll try to help you if you promise to help my mother," but he realized in time that the lion was not at all that sort of person one could try to make bargains with. But when he had said yes, he thought of his mother and the thought of a great hope he had had and how they were all dying away, and a lump came in his throat and tears in his eyes, and he blurted out, "But please, please, won't you? Can't you give me something that will help my mother?" Up until then, he had been looking at the lion's great feet and claws on them, and now in despair he looked up at his face. What he saw surprised him as much as anything in his whole life, for the tawny face was bent down near his own. Great shining tears stood in the lion's eyes. They were such big, bright tears compared to Diggory's own that for a moment he felt as if the lion must really be sorrier than his mother and he was himself. My son," said Aslan, "I know. Grief is great. Only you and I in this land know that yet. Let us be good to one another. But I have to think of the hundreds of years in the life of Narnia. The witch whom you have brought into this world will come back to Narnia again. But it need not be yet. It is my wish to plant in Narnia a tree that she will not dare to approach. And that tree will protect Narnia from her for many years. So this land shall have a nice, long, bright morning before any clouds come over the sun. You must get the seed from which that tree will grow." "Yes, sir," said Diggory. He didn't know how it was to be done, but he felt quite sure that now he would be able to do it. The lion drew a deep breath, stooped its head even lower, and gave him a lion's kiss. And at once Diggory felt new strength and courage had gone into him. "Dear son," said Aslan, "I will tell you what you must do. Turn and look to the west and tell me what you see." "I see big, terrible mountains, Aslan," said Diggory. "I see this river coming down the cliffs in a waterfall, and beyond the cliff there are high green hills with forests. Beyond those there are higher ranges that look almost black. And then, far away, there are big snowy mountains all heaped up together like pictures of the Alps. And behind those there's nothing but the sky." "You see well," said the lion. "Now the land of Narnia ends where the waterfall comes down, and once you have reached the top of the cliffs, you will be out of Narnia and into the western wild. You must journey through those mountains until you find a green valley with a blue lake in it, walled round by mountains of ice. And at the end of the lake there is a steep green hill. On the top of that hill there is a garden, and the center of the garden is a tree. Pluck an apple from the tree and bring it back to me." "Yes, sir," said Diggory again. He hadn't the least idea how he was to climb the cliff and find his way among all the mountains, but he didn't like to say that for fear it would sound like making excuses. But he did say, "I hope, Aslan, you're not in a hurry. I shan't be able to get there very quickly." "Little son of Adam, you will have help," said Aslan. He then turned to the horse, who had been standing quietly beside them all this time, swishing his tail to keep flies off, and listening with his head on one side of conversation was difficult to understand. "My dear," said Aslan to the horse, "would you like to be a winged horse?" He should have seen how the horse shook its mane and nostrils widened, and the little tap it gave on the ground with the back hoof. Clearly, it would like very much to be a winged horse, but it only said, "If you wish, Aslan. If you really mean, well, I don't know why it should be me, I'm not a very clever horse." "Be winged. Be the father of all flying horses," roared Aslan in a voice that shook the ground. "Your name will be Fledge." The horse shied, just as it might have shied in the old, miserable days when it pulled a hansom, but then it roared. It strained its neck back as if there was a fly biting its shoulders, and then it wanted to scratch them. And then, just as the beast had burst out of the earth, there burst out of the shoulders of Fledge wings that spread and grew, larger than eagles, larger than swans, larger than the angels' wings in church windows. The feathers shone chestnut color and copper color. He gave a great swoop with them and leaped into the air. 20 feet above Aslan, and Diggory snorted, neighed, and curveted. Then, after circling once around them, he dropped to the earth on all four hooves together, looking awkward and surprised, but extremely pleased. Is it good, Fledge? It is very good, Aslan, said Fledge. Will you carry the little son of Adam on your back to the mountain valley I spoke of? What? Now? At once? Said Strawberry, or I guess Fledge, as we much call him now. Hurrah! Come, little one. I've had things like you on my back before, long, long ago, when there were green fields and sugar. What are the two daughters of Eve whispering about? Said Aslan, who turned very suddenly on Polly and the cabbie's wife, who in fact had been making friends. If you please, sir, said Queen Helen, I think the little girl would love to go too, if it weren't any trouble. What does Fledge say about that? Asked the lion. Oh, I don't mind too, not when they're little ones, said Fledge, but I hope the elephant doesn't want to come too. The elephant had no such wish, and the new king of Narnia helped both children up. That is, he gave Diggory a rough heave and set Polly as gently and daintily on the horse's back as if she was made of china and might break. There they are, Fledge, I should say. This is a rum go. All right, we'll continue.